the reviews given by different people on the books, and then funding was also available from. Sometimes it had problems, and then it was available from different devotees or in printing press. People were helping, and then I think I remember this much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. Some of the reviews came from his own godbrothers. They highly praised him. Anyone else have something they'd like to share from last time? One thing that I found kind of interesting that I'd never picked up on before was that the book printing was done at OK Press, but the dust jackets were done at another press across the Jamuna River. So Prabhupada would go to OK Press, and then he would take a bridge across the Jamuna to go and get the dust jackets. He also put his books, volume 1 and 2, in libraries and schools around Delhi, and there was 40 schools, libraries, etc., where his books were. And he also was given a standing order for 18 places not in India. Does anybody remember what that was? It was actually very significant. It was an embassy. U.S. embassy took 18 copies to distribute to their embassies in America. That was huge. Yes?
Well, I remember that, if I'm correct, it took 2 years to get all 3 volumes, which were, so in the beginning, as I understood, the first canto was divided in 3 volumes, and each of them was 16 rupees, and the first, excuse me?
Okay.
Yes, and I'm not sure, I don't recall how was the first, if the first one was from donations, was printed from donations, but the idea was to print the first one, volume, and then from the money from the first volume to get to print the second volume and so on. But luckily, the second volume was, the money were donated by, I don't remember the name, but I remember that the story to print the third volume already, that Srila Prabhupada had to wait for the person to leave the company and stayed chanting for 5 hours at the exit of the company. And then the lady, I forgot her name, it was a steamship company. So when she was coming out, that was the only way for Srila Prabhupada to meet her actually, and to tell her about him printing the books. And the next day they had a meeting, and he brought the books with her, and she did everything for the third volume to be printed. And the goal of Srila Prabhupada was to have the 3 volumes ready, so he would be ready to go to the West. And he was deciding between going to England and to United States. He even had dreams about him arriving to New York, exactly. So, and for me, it was impressive how it was showing that it took so much time to get these volumes printed, but also it took 40 years from the time when all this was actually mentioned about him bringing the message to the West by his spiritual master. So it's just how much time it took.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah. He was always thinking of America. It said that usually they would go to London, they go to England but Srila Prabhupada was always thinking of going to America. And he was scheming, thinking, which way should he go? Should he go this way or should he go that way? Yeah. Wow, that was very, 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 very good. Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Once, a chance meeting with a Mr. Agrawal. And like so many people that Srila Prabhupada met, he mentioned that he would like to go to America and that he would need a sponsor. So Mr. Agrawal said, I will see if I can find a sponsor in America for you. And nothing really other, because Srila Prabhupada had mentioned it to many, many people. Okay. And I see that in the chat, I will, Parmananda Bhagwani, a librarian at Jai Hind College who purchased books for the college library and then escorted Bhaktivedanta Swami to a few likely outlets. Mr. Bhagwani is speaking. I took him to the popular book depot at Grant Road to help him in selling books, but they told us they can't stock the books because they don't have much sales on religion. Then we went to another shop nearby, and the owner also regretted his inability to sell the books. Then he went to Sadhu Veda near Mahalakshmi Temple, and we met the head of the temple there. He, of course, welcomed us. They have a library of their own, and they stock religious books. So we approached them to please keep a set there in their library. They are a wealthy ashram, and yet he also expressed his inability. Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to Delhi, pursuing the usual avenues of bookselling and looking for whatever opportunity might arise. And to his surprise, he was contacted by the Ministry of External Affairs and informed that his no objection certificate for going to the U.S. was ready. Since he had not instigated any proceedings for leaving the country, Bhaktivedanta Swami had to inquire from the ministry about what had happened. They showed him the statutory declaration form signed by Mr. Gopal Agrawal of Butler, Pennsylvania. Mr. Agrawal solemnly declared that he would bear the expenses of Bhaktivedanta Swami during his stay in the U.S.
Thank you. Pravleen, please.
Srila Prabhupada speaking. Whatever the correspondence was there between the father and son, I did not know. I simply asked him, why don't you ask your son Gopal to sponsor? And now, after 3 or 4 months, the no objection certificate was sent from the Indian consulate in New York to me. He had already sponsored my arrival there for 1 month, and all of a sudden I got the paper. At his father's request, Gopal Agarwal had done as he had done for several other sadhus, none of whom had ever gone to America. It was just a formality, something to satisfy his father. Gopal had requested a form from the Indian consulate in New York, obtained a statement from his employer certifying his monthly salary, gotten a letter from his bank showing his balance as of April 1965, and had the form notarized. It had been stamped and approved in New York and sent to Delhi. Now Bhaktivedanta Swami had a sponsor, but he still needed a passport, visa, P-form and travel fare. The passport was not very difficult to obtain. Krishna Pandit helped, and by June 10 he had his passport. Carefully he penned in his address at the Radha Krishna temple in Chippiwara and wrote his father's name Gaur Mohan De. He asked Krishna Pandit also to pay for his going abroad, but Krishna Pandit refused, thinking it against Hindu principles for a sadhu to go abroad and also very expensive. With his passport and sponsorship papers, Bhaktivedanta Swami went to Bombay, not to sell books or raise funds for printing. He wanted a ticket for America. Again he tried approaching Sumati Morarji. He showed his sponsorship papers to her secretary, Mr. Choksi, who was impressed and who went to Mrs. Morarji on his behalf. The Swami from Vrindavan is back, he told her. He has published his book on your donation. He has a sponsor and he wants to go to America. He wants you to send him on a Stay India ship. Mrs. Morarji said, no, the Swamiji was too old to go to the United States and expect to accomplish anything. As Mr. Choksi conveyed to him Mrs. Morarji's words, Bhaktivedanta Swami listened disapprovingly. She wanted him to stay in India and complete the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why go to the States? Finish the job here.
Thank you. Rani Subhadra, please.
I just would like to interject here. I've heard from sources from devotees, the conversation was like this. Mrs. Morarji said, Swamiji, you're too old and it's too cold. And Prabhupada replied and said, but I am bold. Please continue.
But Bhaktivedanta Swami was fixed on going. He told Mr. Choksi that he should convince Mrs. Morarji. He coached Mr. Choksi on what he should say. I find this gentleman very inspired to go to the States and preach something to the people there. But when he told Mrs. Morarji, she again said no. The Swami was not healthy. It would be too cold there. He might not be able to come back, and she doubted whether he would be able to accomplish much there. People in America were not so cooperative, and they would probably not listen to him. Exasperated with Mr. Choksi's ineffectiveness, Bhaktivedanta Swami demanded a personal interview. It was granted. In a great fear, determined Bhaktivedanta Swami presented his empathetic request. Please give me one ticket. Sumati Morarji was concerned. Swamiji, you are so old. You are taking this responsibility. Do you think it is all right? No, he reassured her, lifting his hand as if to reassure a doubting daughter. It is all right. But do you know what my secretaries think? They say Swamiji is going to die there. Bhaktivedanta made a face as if to dismiss a foolish rumor. Again, he insisted that she give him a ticket. All right, she said. Get your P form and I will make an arrangement to send you by our ship. Bhaktivedanta Swami smiled brilliantly and happily left her offices past her amazed and skeptical clerks.
Thank you. Ananta, please.
P form, another necessity for an Indian national who wants to leave the country, is a certificate given by the State Bank of India certifying that the person has no excessive debts in India and is cleared by the banks. That would take a while to obtain, and he also did not yet have a US visa. He needed to pursue these government permissions in Bombay, but he had no place to stay. So Mrs. Morarji agreed to let him reside at the Scindia colony, a compound of apartments for employees of Scindia Company. He stayed in a small, unfurnished apartment with only his trunk and typewriter. The resident Scindia employees all knew that Mrs. Morarji was sending him to the West, and some of them became interested in this cause. They were impressed, for although he was so old, he was going abroad to preach. He was a special sadhu, a scholar. They heard from him now. Uh, They heard from him how he was taking hundreds of copies of his books with him but no money. He became a celebrity at Scindia Colony. Various families brought him rice, sabji, and fruit. They brought so much that he could not eat it all, and he mentioned this to Mr. Choksi. Just accept it and distribute it, Mr. Choksi advised. Bhaktivedanta Swami then began giving remnant of his food to the children. Some of the older residents gathered to hear him as he read and spoke from Srimad Bhagavatam. Mr. Vas, Vasavada, the chief cashier of Scindia, was particularly impressed and came regularly to learn from the sadhu. Mr. Vasavada obtained copies of Bhaktivedanta Swami's book and read them in his home. Bhaktivedanta Swami's apartment shared a roof in veranda with Mr. Nagarajan, a Scindia office worker, and his wife. Mrs. Nagarajan said, speaking. Every time when I passed that way, he used to be writing or chanting. I would ask him, Swamiji, what are you writing? He used to sit near the window and one after another was translating the Sanskrit. He gave me two books and said, Child, if you read this book, you will understand. We would have discourses in the house, and 4 or 5 Gujarati ladies used to come. At one of these discourses, he told one lady that those who wear their hair parted on the side, that is not a good idea. Every Indian lady should have her hair parted in the center. They were very fond of listening and very keen to hear his discourses.
Thank you.
Every day, yep.
Pramaji, please.
I would like to share something with you and tell you something about this. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, I don't see it.
He would go out trying to get his visa and P form as quickly as possible, selling his books and seeking contacts and supporters for his future Srimad Bhagavatam publishing. Mr. Nagarajan tried to help. Using the telephone directory, he made a list of wealthy business and professional men who were Vaishnavas and might be inclined to assist. Bhaktivedanta Swami's neighbors of Sin India colony observed him coming home dead tired in the evening. He would sit quietly, perhaps feeling morose, some neighbors thought. But after a while he would sit up, rejuvenated, and start writing. Mrs. Nagarajan. When he came home, we used to give him courage and we used to tell him, Swamiji, one day you will achieve your target. He would say, Time is still not right. Time is still not right. They are all Agyanis. They don't understand, but still I must carry on. Sometimes I would go by and his chadar would be on the chair, but he would be sitting on the window's sill. I would ask him, Swamiji, did you have any good contacts? He would say, Not much today. I didn't get much, and it is depressing. Tomorrow Krishna will give me more details. And he would sit there quietly. After 10 minutes, he would sit in his chair and start writing. I would wonder how Swamiji was so tired in 1 minute and in another minute. Even if he was tired, he was not defeated. He would never speak discouragement. And we would always encourage him and say, if today you don't get it, tomorrow you will definitely meet some people and they will encourage you. And my friends used to come in the morning and in the evening for discourses, and they would give namaskar and fruits. Mr. Nagarajan. His temperament was very adjustable and homely. Our friends would offer a few rupees. He would say, All right, it will help. He used to walk from our colony to Andheri station. It is 2 kilometers, and he used to go there without taking a bus because he had no money.
Thank you. Usha, please.